Hello YouTube viewers, welcome to my channel Science to Technology. In today's show, Camera Tuesday, we're gonna talk about Sony's new bright lens, which is 28 to 70 f2 G Master. So let's dive deep into it. So this is a super bright zoom lens. Let that be very clear. The point of zoom lens simply means the can change. It could go from, let's say, 15 to 35. It could go from 24 to 70. It could go from 28 to 70. That's what zoom means. And super bright means it has a constant aperture like f2.8, but it f2. Now, while in numbers it may not sound such a huge jump, but this is one complete stop of extra light. Does that make a difference? Yes, in low light that is like going from 36 100 ISO to 1600 ISO. That's a big jump. So yes, it has a lot of light, and in terms of shallow depth of field, it will create something that a no f2.8 lens can match. So that is there. Now, Canon released the first wide release, so to say, of f2 lenses with their R mount. Basically, this was their halo product during R mount launch, so to say. So idea was, why would you want to jump into this new ecosystem? Well, we have f2, and they released it, and it was, if you needed this lens, let's say 28 to 70, and be mindful, camera body is not that important compared to lens. If you have a lens that is offered from a company and you need to have it, you're gonna buy that company. Like for example, let's say you need a tilt shift lens and it's only available in Nikon, you're gonna buy Nikon. If you need a 28 to 70 f2 lens and it's only available in Canon, you're gonna buy Canon. People buy based on lenses. So having this sort of offering, it's a really good way for company to differentiate themselves. Whereas like, hey, we offer something that others cannot compete. Now, do you need it or not? That's up to you. We have all the normal generic lenses, and we also have some flagship offerings. So that's there. Now, Sony took freaking 6 years to compete, man. Like, that's a long time, but they did finally released it. So that's the good part. Now be mindful, these lenses are expensive. So you have Holy Trinity lenses, because again, that's a very core focus, very nitpicked lens. So companies generally do their best to make quality lens in that lineup. That's expensive. And then you have this lens, which is even more expensive than that, because again, it covers Holy Trinity lens, 24 to 70 lens. It almost tries to replace it. Now, why does not it go to 24? Again, it could go, it's just, it will become huge. So to get proper contrast to how huge that would be, look into television lenses. Huge. So it could be done, it's just that like it won't fit in front of a camera. So 28 to 70, it's a compromise basically. So it is what it is. Now it's expensive, $3,000 lens. And at the time of filming, be mindful, it could change. So at the time of filming, if I go into Canon's own Indian website, it's like, what's the price of this puppy? It's 2,91,000. That's expensive, almost touching 3 lakhs. Although there is because this lens has been out, the price is not that high in market. That's MSRP. So you can get it for surprising issue. That is almost 60, so 2.6 lakhs you can get. So MSRP is little bit under 3, and you can get it as low as 2.6, which is a significant price cut. And what about Sony? Sony, again, as of now, they have only shared the MSRP, which is 3. It's a bit more than the MSRP of this, and I do not know the lower end, but be mindful, I have seen this happen, because again, this lens is very new, but it could easily come down to 2.8. So for the price scale that we are talking about, they are more or less the same price. It's not like whoa difference. The difference is there, but it's not like whoa. It's very little. Now, why would anyone invest this kind of money? Well, it will remove few bright prime lenses with one body. Now, can you buy even brighter lens in prime? Of course, you can go to f1.8 or f1.2. You can go there, but at that point the lenses are so heavy, like this starts to become light again. So that's there. And again, if everybody has f2.8, everybody's offering f2.8 photographs, while you are offering f2, you have a differentiation. And at that point in time, people, well, like, have some differentiation. For that reason, this is classified as like, remove a lot of prime lenses for one lens. So in this context, it makes more economic sense. So this constant f2 point. Well, f2 could have been made in DSLR era also, but you have to understand, lenses outlast the camera body. So there are people who had actually bought a film camera, used the film lenses, upgraded the body to DSLR, used those lenses itself, and then slowly upgraded to, like, mirrorless system. So lenses are kind of laggard in terms of technology. So could we have made this sort of bright lenses like with other systems? Yes, but it would have been difficult, painful even. So the fact when engineers jumped from DSLR to mirrorless, completely new clean slate design, they had few advantages. So the advantage was shorter flange, meaning how far the lens has to project. So lens body ends here, your sensor is here in case of a DSLR, because again you have a flip out mirror here, kuchum, kuchum, kuchum. So a lot of distance, almost 45 millimeters. So that's a lot of distance. What if that distance was shrunk? Now let's say that distance shrunk by half. You only have 25 now. Now here's the deal. Benefit of lens engineering is exponential. It's exponential. Like it's like, whoa. That's like lens engineers are like, hey, we can design some good stuff now without hurting too much. And then you're like, okay, what if the entry aperture in the body itself was a bit bigger? Now it's like just a little bit bigger, but that also translates your lens engineering to be like, we can now push more. It's easier. So this two core engineering factor. First, the flange is huge. Second, the flange distance is also shrunk. All of them translates into now we can make f2 lenses. That's why f2 was announced with mirrorless systems. Ludicrously bright lenses were announced with mirrorless system. Could it have been done with DSLRs? Of course, but it would have been too painful, too expensive, too ludicrous. So that's why nowadays, that's why you are seeing so many new mirrorless design where they have ludicrously wide range, where it's like 24 to 105. I'm like, what the hell? How the heck that's possible? Well, because of the engineering flexibility that is afforded to mirrorless camera, because of shorter flash distance and larger entry aperture. So one lens can do a heavy lifting. 28 to 70, again, let that be very clear. I'm pretty sure that if Sony engineers wanted to design it, they could have done that. But they must have done the calculation. They're like, hey, if people are happy with Canon's 28 to 70, we do not need to, like, push ourselves so much. Because again, there is also a point of price. If they pushed the engineering and price went too high, it's like, is it really worth it? So again, you have to do market analysis. So I'm pretty sure they are like, hey, let's match Canons and then we remove them from the equation. I'll explain how they removed the Canon from equation. But be mindful, this puppy is made for professional people who are making boatload of money. You're not, if this sort of expensive lenses are not designed for, like, hobbyist or enthusiast. No, this is a professional lens. You are making a lot of money from your shoots, and investing in your equipment to have even a little bit of edge translates to a lot of profit. So you are like, okay, I'm gonna invest into quality glass. Those sort of people who are gonna get that, basically standing out from the crowd. That's the whole point. So that's why people invest into this. Now let's understand this engineering first rule. You build it first or you build it better. There is no point of like, oh, we built it first to the market. Does not mean that much. Trust me, it does not mean that much. It's just that you build it first or you build it better. You cannot just copy paste. That's the penalty. You cannot copy paste from someone else. So for example, Samsung releases fold phone, and then Hawaii is like, okay, we're not gonna rush, bro, but we're gonna release even better. And it's like, whoa, what the hell happened? You build it, you build it first or you build it better. You cannot, like, second launch just the same thing. Sony followed this ethos properly. So Sony took their sweet time. That's the penalty. So Sony shooters were like, come on, man, come on. This Canon people are rubbing it our in face. Come on. And I have seen some good photos from those lenses. So they are doing that. But so they're like, okay, we're gonna release the lens. Okay, cool. It's gonna be higher sharpness. Not in the center, it's already sharp, but higher sharpness compared to Canon. Meaning if you have Canon side by side and you do edge to edge sharpness, Sony would be a bit better. Meaning it is better enough that you can actually tell them apart. Like you can actually tell them apart. It's like, this is Sony. It's a bit sharper. Now again, let me be very clear. It's not that Canon is blurry or something like that. Canon is very sharp. Sony is a bit sharper. So Sony is there. Like they actually made it higher sharpness. Now does that translate to a lot? No. What does translate? It's lighter. So basically it's half a kilogram lighter. It's 500 gram lighter with the same goddamn spec. That is shut up, take money. That flat out is shut up, take money. Because again, here's a sad part of reality. We age. So while in your younger years, it's like, I can lift this puppy, to like, yeah, this is too taxing, man. So at that point in time, somebody offers you, hey, this lens, it's half kilogram lighter. And again, price wise, it's almost 10 to 20% price differential, which again, I'm pretty sure as once Sony starts to get in the market, the price differential will either evaporate or Canon has to reduce their price. So people are like, yeah, I'm willing to switch. So half kilogram lighter while having the same specification, while having tangibly better sharpness, damn. That simply means any new buyer that is coming into the market in 2025, if they are like, hey, I want f2 zoom lenses, they will look into these two offering, Canon and Sony. Sony genuinely has better lens, genuinely. Like, it's not like little bit better or little bit, no, they just genuinely have better. Now be mindful, we are talking about photography, so we are talking about a bit of art aspect to it. Some people prefer Canon system. Now again, is it because of Canon color science, or is it because of their optic formula? I do not know, but there is a point that Sony lenses are a bit cold. They are a bit more scientific, so to say, while Canon has a bit of richness, warmth in red wavelengths, so to say. So if you see the raw files, you will able to tell which is Canon, which is Sony, simply because Sony would be a bit more calm and red would be exaggerated in Canon ecosystem. So again, if you are like, hey, I like that color too, go YOLO on Canon. If you're like, hey, that's just color, goddammit, I can easily switch it, easily make it. And again, even if you're like, hey, out of a body JPEG, you can tweak it. That's the whole point of professional cameras. They allow you to tweak as you want. And again, some people are completely opposite of that. Hey, I do not want that, like, tomato look on people where it's like, everything is red and it looks very Instagrammy. Again, your preferences, that is still there. So for some people, it's like, hey, I like that color figure. But for majority of people, the difference is not that significant, especially if you have a, basically calibrated pipeline, and the weight difference is significant. It's not just like a little bit lighter. It's half kilogram light. That's like, yeah, that's a lot lighter. So that's a very good thing. And on top of optics, it's magnificent. Like this sort of photos Sony is sharing in order to show corner, man, like, damn sharp. And again, this almost looks like Sony actually made the lens before, but they did not release it. It may not have met their quality control, and then they remade it, because again, this is a new design. They never released this sort of new design in Mark 1 lenses, where you have clicky aperturing and non-clicky options, smooth and tight. Like, these things were GM2 class lenses. So how the heck a GM1 got it? So I'm pretty sure they must have made the lens in the background. They're like, yeah, it does not look good. So they're like, okay, let's re-engineer everything. And then they re-engineered. The biggest re-engineering they did was GM2 lens was 24 to 70 f2.8. That again, that lens is also kicking ass flat out. It's lighter, it's sharper, like fundamentally it's a good lens. So that level of engineering directly on Mark 1, I doubt it. Most likely they made it and it was like, yeah, it's not that good, let's scan it. Once the improvement, new optical engineer came in, and they're like, we got you, fam. Like, this is so shallow depth of field, f2, that if you have a figurine, this size figurine, you focus on the head, the base disappears. This is same level of shallow depth of field that your phone cannot even try to replicate. Like, even with AI, it's like, yeah, it can't do that. So fundamentally, this is on a whole different level. Lens is very optically good, like good. Like, you won't be like, oh, I just bought this lens and it's not that sharp. And no, it's good. Even the Canon one is good. This is just a bit better in other scenarios where it's like, damn, this is good. So flat out, they built it first, you built it better. So Sony is like, I got you. Now, the best advantage is that we all win because of this. Fundamentally, competition keeps the brand prices in check. If we did not had, let's say, Canon, I can guarantee you Sony would have been like, we could charge whatever we want. And again, if people, once they get used to that idea, and be mindful, I really hate that how badly AI, like how close AI has reached to a point where they're like, yeah, we can just paint your mobile photos to look like a DSLR photo. Like, we have reached there. And you're like, no, pixel peeping, not everybody is doing it, man. And if you're selling it to Instagram, it does not really matter. So that part is there. So having a lens that can genuinely create like, whoa. So people are like, hey, the price would not have been the same. I can guarantee you, if the Canon was not there, price would have been much higher. So this is a very good thing. And we also get options. So you may be like, hey, I am more than satisfied with 10-bit file recording. I can go with Sony. Cool. You're like, you know what, I do want much higher video bit rates, and like, Canon RAW and all that. Cool. Canon also has good options. Cool. We get choices, prices remain intact. That's good. And as of now, if you have money, again, if you are not financially limited, you can get quality lens and camera kit that was unheard of, unimaginable just a few years ago. Like, that is a very good gain. Like, because there has been a time where it's like, yeah, what's the difference between, like, Nikon D3100 to, like, 3300? It's like barely a change. Like, changes were very subtle. There was a whole time between, like, once DSLR became a thing, full frame DSLR became a thing, it almost, like, teetered out, and lens was not changing that much. Lens were getting a bit sharper, but not changing. They were like, okay, f2.8 Holy Trinity lens. Now we have Mark II of those lenses that are a bit sharper. Now we have Mark III that's even a bit sharper and has image stabilization. But it was not changing. This is the first time we can finally say, okay, now it's changing. Like, there is something fundamentally different that you could not have bought with a DSLR ecosystem, with a film camera ecosystem. Like, Nikon went all out. They're like, what if I give you a 58mm lens? It's like, okay, that's odd. Why? Well, what if you had an aperture? It's like, okay, how wide we are talking about? F 1.8? Nah, wider. F 1.2? Nah. 0.95. This is a night photography lens. Flat out. It's a night vision lens. They're like, just give a night. This is so big they could not figure out how to do autofocus on that. But again, it's it's exciting again. Oh, now we have new type of lenses. And again, I can only guarantee you, only 5 or 10 people would be excited about it, but at least there is something new. And even this Sony lenses would not have occurred in DSLR, but it exists now. There are third-party lenses that are like from f2 to f2.8. I'm like, when did this happen that, the darker aperture is f2.8 and bright aperture is f2? All of this is a new era that we are entering because of that shrunk flange distance and larger entry aperture. Again, it was hypothesized that this would happen, but now we are reaping the fruits of it, so to say. So this is a very good ecosystem. So zoom that were unimaginable, just like, in 1990s, you could not have sold to people who was like, oh, you know what, Canon's gonna release a lens, man. It's gonna be so goddamn sharp, and it's gonna be a zoom lens, and it's gonna be f2. People are like, bro, pass the joint, man. But we are here. So as of now, if you have the money and muscle, you can get lenses that are like, damn. And again, from all the vendors, all of them are going YOLO on it. This is a good thing. We are finally winning. Yes, prices are going stupid. That's the painful part. But at least it's something different. Like, it's reaching a point. It's like, yeah, I get it. Like, and again, it's a very good thing. Now we have two engineering philosophies. One is like, hey, we will make the same thing, but better. Like, we're going to make a Holy Trinity lens, but brighter. Sony's like, okay, we're going to make the same lens, but lighter. That's a good thing. We are winning. So I'm happy about this. Yeah, it's a, bit of a flagship kind of ecosystem, but I'm happy that something is changing and for the better. So this was my presentation on this hyper bright f2 zoom lens, 28 to 70mm. Hopefully you have liked it, learned from it. In that case, please click the like button, share it amongst a friend. That will help me a lot. If you didn't like it, didn't enjoy it, I urge you to press dislike, press it twice to show me extra disappointment. Please leave a comment because I do try to reply to all of them. Subscribe, press the bell icon if you're free, and as always, thanks for watching.